what are some of the practices for diversity, equity, and inclusion within organizations? How do we make it happen? Our two speakers is Kathleen Smith. She's head of Global Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Partner at Sanofi. And she's supported the Global Gender Balance Board and Network at PMO at Sanofi for almost 30 years in various global and regional roles in market analytics, project management, congress and events, management, government affairs. She has like a lot of experience. She's originally from Brazil, born there and living in France for more than 30 years. I know that she speaks many languages, and she has a degree in international commerce. Proud mom of a 19-year-old Lucas, who she brought up as a single mother. She's passionate about people, exploring the world, trekking, scuba diving, cycling, many different things, and of course, gender and diversity, equity, and inclusion. Thank you for being with us, Kathleen. Our next speaker is also Pınar. Pınar is the HR Director, Middle East and Africa for IBM. And she has a corporate consulting academic background for more than 20 years. After graduating from Hacettepe University English Language Teaching Development Department, she worked as a lecturer and training at Bilkent University. And she has also specialized in adult education and educational psychology. And then she moved on and worked for DHL Human Resources and moved to consulting and various backgrounds. And it is exciting to have her with us as well. So we want to hear a little bit of their various initiatives. But we start with Kathleen. Can you share one initiative to create inclusion in your organization and what makes it good? And what you have learned along the way, and how did you overcome obstacles? So in one of the many initiatives I know you have, please share the one.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Kristin. It's my pleasure to be on this panel and share a little bit more what we're doing at Sanofi. So in the first half of the year, this year, we established 5 global employer resource groups, or ERGs, if you will, covering our 5 diversity strands, which we have named Gender, Pride, Ability Plus, Generations Plus, and Culture and Origins. The plus after each name represents the allies. Each of these ERGs is led by colleagues selected of over 200 applicants, and each of them is sponsored by one of our ExCom members and benefit from a dedicated budget. The role of these ERGs is to help, create diverse and inclusive workplaces while building and driving the business agenda. So we are taking DE&I very, very seriously at Sanofi, and apart from establishing these 5 global ERGs, which have local, of course, representations, as Rohini was mentioning earlier. We have established also a diversity, equity, and inclusion board, which is composed of the 5 other remaining ExCom members, meaning that every single one of them is involved in one way or another in diversity, equity, and inclusion. Our CEO, our Chief Diversity Officer, a representative of our global ERGs, and 3 of the most influential independent voices within the diversity, equity, and inclusion spaces, including wonderful Dr. Rohini Anand, who we've just heard from. So that's one of the major initiatives we've put into place this year.
Yeah, it's really good to hear. And what about at IBM, Pınar? Can you share one of the major initiatives that you have and that you're proud of sharing with us today?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So in IBM, we have broken into 4 parts, the whole initiative into 4 parts. One of them is accountability, which means around, all the senior leadership teams and the managers are accountable for the diversity, gender equation and diversity as well. So this is an overall approach that we think fosters our culture as well, even included in our exec compensation models. The second one is employee experience. We're focusing on the more you focus on employee experience, the more your employees, your talented, diverse employees stay with you, obviously. So this is also something that we think makes a difference. And with that, we also have, as Kathleen said, we also have business resource groups which have local impacts, and more than 50,000 IBMers around the globe that are working for these business resource groups, no matter what they are doing in IBM as their roles. I mean, from HR, from finance, from technology, from research, whoever is, volunteers and whoever wants to add value is welcome. So this is also another way of our showing inclusion to our employees as well. And allyship, as Kathleen mentioned, it is also one of the words that we use a lot for our culture. It's extremely important for us, not only creating for the employee experience, but for the accountability and increasing the representation as well. So one addition can be, the fourth one is the advocacy. Advocacy meaning, as IBM, we feel responsible for adding value to the communities and the society that we operate in. So this is where our advocacy, external advocacy, internal and external advocacy came into play. So overall, these four pillars constitute our own way of looking to DE&I.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned also this advocacy, and sometimes I think many of us, I mean, wherever you are today, to create change, you sort of have to be kind of pioneer, like doing this new way. And how do you do as a leader inside IBM to pioneer or to encourage others also to do that within this field?
Yes, well, as you said, in order to be a role model externally, you need to practice it internal as well. This is where I think leadership comes in. The leadership meaning, I mean, I think now that even after the pandemic, we are all talking about flexible leadership. We're all talking about empathy in the leadership. Now, with the future of with the work, the changes of work life after pandemic, we are not always only talking about where to work from. We also talk about when to work from that means leaders should facilitate some flexible options. And even, employees working from home, or employees working late at night, prefer to work late at night, or employees all around the world with all these time zone differences. I think in order to foster all these inclusion, this is where leaders, importance come into play. We need to be flexible. We need to be empathic, and obviously create ways for our teams to cooperate and collaborate, because working remotely or working in different time zones, in different time periods, does not mean that we do not need cooperation at all. And it is still very important. Teamwork is still very important. Just the way we foster that has changed. Now we're not more as we were in front of the blackboards, brainstorming. Instead of doing that, we use technology. We use some tools, softwares, Mural, Trello, boards, Slack channels, whatever. So this I think comes from top to down. I mean, as a leader, you should be a role model doing all these and using all these technology.
Yeah, it's exciting times, with time zones and global teams and collaboration. And Kathleen, I know that also within Sanofi, you have reflected a bit on this pioneering new initiatives and what leaders can do individually to come up with these new ways.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I just wanted to share before I go into we are an organization of over 93,000 employees, and we set a target in 2018 to achieve gender parity at senior leadership level, which is a population of about 2,300 people, and 40% in our executive committee, which is around 500 people. And to make this happen, we're combining several actions that have already been mentioned in this panel, covering talent management, talent acquisition, and talent development. And the supporting KPIs have been included in the performance reviews of our executive teams. But what I wanted to share with you is what I think is one of the most important steps Sanofi has taken in the gender equality space, and that is the 14-week paid gender-neutral parental leave, which has been in force worldwide since January 2022. And it's important to understand how significant this is and the impact of such a policy has in terms of gender equality in the workplace. With the different measures of the governments and companies that are taking in favor of gender equality, we're experiencing a turn point in the society, and Sanofi is part of that change, and I'm really proud of that. So it is available to any employee, whatever their family structure, welcoming a new child or whose partner is welcoming a new child through birth, adoption, surrogacy, or custody. So it gives the same time off to both men and women as they become parents, and as Delphine mentioned earlier, it avoids the bias when taking talent decisions, or career decisions at an age where women might be birthing. So.
It's excellent, Kathleen. It's excellent. Can you share also one way we can practice inclusion in the corridors of a company, over the coffee machine, in a meeting, or hiring somebody? How can we practice? Because I think sometimes it's a muscle we need to practice a little bit as well. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, sure. Well, so I consider myself as a global citizen. I've been exposed to an international environment since I was born, and I worked in many different teams with all nationalities and speak, as you mentioned earlier, four languages fluently. I may not have all the vocabulary and expressions of a monolithic speaker, but the accumulation of the vocabulary and expressions and accents I do understand and speak are far greater. So I'm happy with that, and it's a skill that I use a lot in my day-to-day, and I observed how important it is when one is a native monolinguistic speaker to make sure that one uses global international English when addressing multicultural audiences. And not only in terms of vocabulary, but also the expressions which may be too specific to a part of the world, or how quickly one talks, or how one pronounces. So it's a way to include more people in a conversation and make sure they understand what they are saying and are comfortable to take part in the conversation. It was just an observation I've been making recently, and I often act like a kind of interpreter between people when I see and feel that the connection is not happening in a meeting, around a coffee, during a meal, whatever. Yeah, so.
It's super important. I think everybody now listening, are you speaking too fast? Are you, or are you also able to take that role of sort of interpreting almost, but that we catch ourselves in the languages we speak and using the words. And that comes also to what Pınar said before. We need also this empathetic leadership now, this empathy to understand whether somebody understands or not, or putting yourself in the shoe of another. Would you like to share something here, Pınar, on how to practice inclusion?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, well, I think how to practice inclusion sounds, a very big question, but sometimes the answers are so simple that we can practice. What I would say is, to me, it is observation and how do you say it? Feeling the room, what's going on. What's going on? Just, open your senses and observe and try to understand the energy within the room and try to understand the dynamics, how people are feeling, if anyone is reserved back, if anyone feels awkward, or if you feel any energy that is not supposed to be there, between you or between the people. I think overall, if we say observation to all this, this could be the key, I guess, as a leader, even if, how the crucial part of this is, how do you observe, how do you feel the room, if it is too crowded, or if it is virtual. We should be also doing this through WebEx, through Zoom conferences. Who is silent, who is not talked at all, kind of sensibility. If we can show, then I think this is the very starting point of the inclusion. And when you realize that, then immediately you develop your ways of including people in the meeting, in the conversation, or in whatever you would like to.
So I'd like to just have a quick statement from each of you on the vision for the future when it comes to inclusion within the organization. Just one short sentence of maximum 30 seconds to 1 minute. Kathleen?
Kathleen?
I know it's short.
Okay. It's a journey that never ends, and we have to constantly challenge our biases and change the way we behave, and be conscious and grateful of our privilege we have. It will take a lot of time. It takes time and because it involves changing mindsets. But I will borrow the words of Winston Churchill: let's never give up.
Thank you. Pınar?
Yeah, and I will finish up with the very first speaker was talking about the book from Malcolm Gladwell. So what brought you here will not brought you there. So we should definitely look for options to progress, and options, more different practices to move on with. Although we are talking a lot about diversity, inclusion, equity, looking at the surveys, the results are not that good still. So even, I have seen some results. So this is what I think we need to push that along and walk the talk, I should say.
Thank you. We push forward and we attract by being so magnetic, right? That we will just see a different world. I want to thank you so much, and let's put everybody back on the screen. Let's put our faces on so we can see everybody. We could have gone on for so much longer, so I just have to invite you to join our next thing that we are meeting again. And for those of you that were new to WIN, it was an honor to meet all of you, and great that you could come. And I hope to see you next time.